reaching the later rounds of the NFL draft, coming in playoff S-based teams. Round 1, pick 22. The teams who made it a lot further in this season, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. And there's a couple of options that we have drawn up from our genius minds over here. We are actually draft experts. So what is the first thing that Las Vegas should look for here?
So when it comes to the Raiders, you got to look defense and you got to look defensive backfield, especially in that division. You going up against gunslingers in Mahomes, Justin Herbert. The Denver Broncos could have Aaron Rodgers before long, and the AFC is loaded at quarterback all across the board. So you need corners. You have your pass rusher in Max Crosby. Now you need help on the back end of the defense. And at pick 22, I think the guy that's a perfect pick is Trent McDuffie out of Washington. McDuffie is not really the sexiest player. He's not a super ball hawking guy. He's not the phenomenal cover lockdown guy that maybe a Darryl Stingley looked like coming out of LSU. You know, he's not an Ahmad Gardner who just seems to have all the physical tools to just come in and start and dominate right away. But I tell you one thing, McDuffie has no weaknesses. He tackles well. He covers well. He's a good athlete. Zone, man, he does everything really, really well. He comes in right away and is a solid quality starter. I don't think Trent McDuffie is probably not going to end up in the Hall of Fame one day. Heck, he may not even make a Pro Bowl. But right now, the Raiders need some stability at corner, and McDuffie can come in right away, day one, and bring it.
Yeah, I really like McDuffie. I really like the DB pick here. Las Vegas. What are some things that they're lacking? Obviously, they spent a first-round pick on a wide receiver. They spent a first-round pick, or second-round pick, rather, on a DB in Arnett and on Ruggs. Both those guys are gone. You got to look to the well to replenish those draft picks. I think McDuffie, great guy. And here you go, Las Vegas. No character concerns. That's a big one right here for you. You got burned on that the last couple years. Maybe we look to a little bit of safer guy. And Washington, how much trouble could you possibly get in Washington? You know, I mean, look here. I think McDuffie's a really safe bet for Las Vegas here. And I think it's going to help them push into the later rounds of the draft.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And let's go ahead and move on to their second round pick here. And then we have the Raiders taking pick number 53 in the second round, Nicholas Petit-Frere. I'm assuming I get that right. He's got a French name. This is the offensive tackle from Ohio State. Frere played left tackle to finish his career off at Ohio State. I think he projects more as a right tackle with the Raiders because the Raiders have Colton Miller already starting on the left. And I think he comes in right away and really stabilizes the pass blocking element of the offensive line. That was probably the biggest problem with Derek Carr and the Raiders is they just had a lot of offensive line issues. They drafted Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama. He hasn't worked out. They moved him to guard. Even then, he hasn't been very good. So they need more stability at tackle. And even though Frere played left tackle at Ohio State to finish his career, he got his first starts at right tackle. I love a guy who can play both sides. Frere, he's a great athlete, was a five-star guy coming out of high school. I think he'd come in right away, compete for a starting job, and probably win it at right tackle.
And if you just look at him, he's a physical specimen. Like, this isn't your typical, chunky, slow offensive line. This guy looks like a freak. He's lean, he's big. Like you said, he plays multiple different positions. So you got to be athletic to be able to come off the right and left side of the ball. You got to have some good hands, some good feet doing stuff like that. So I think this is good. I love versatility in offensive linemen, and hearing you talk about them, that's one of the things. You flip him out right, your left tackle goes down, you can flip him over to the left side, and he's probably going to be able to cover for you pretty well. So I love a dual-natured pick like this that can work for you in multiple different ways. And I think this is Las Vegas trying to get a little bit smarter.
Yep. And speaking of the Raiders getting a little bit smarter, you already mentioned it. You talk about the need to replace Ruggs at wide receiver. Instead of getting maybe a smaller, more explosive downfield threat like Ruggs was, they go Justyn Ross, the wide receiver from Clemson. So Ross is a little bit bigger guy, about 6'3", 200. But make no mistake about it, this guy is a downfield threat because he is so good at high pointing the ball and catching the ball in traffic. That's a lot of what unless you have a guy like Tyreek Hill or a guy like Cooper Kupp who just beats you with his route running, or Hill with his speed, obviously. You need a guy who can win the 50-50 balls. And Justyn Ross did that at Clemson. He's big, he's strong, made all kind of plays downfield at his time playing for the Clemson Tigers. I think he's a great fit. And remember, they already have Hunter Renfrow, right? So they have a guy at receiver that can be like the chain mover, the third down guy. So you've got Ross doesn't have to come in and handle that right away. That's a lot of stress for a rookie to take on. He can just be the big play guy, maybe some slants to kind of work him in. I think it's just a natural fit for him to come in right away and make an impact.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed about Ross coming out of high school and then finishing up in college, he's worked on his speed a lot, going from a 4.8 40 to now projected at a 4.5 40. So, shaving 0.3 seconds off, no small feat. Like you said, he's a big guy. He's very strong. He plays in an elite level offense at Clemson, gets to play around a lot of good talent. Clemson plays a lot of tough teams, usually goes pretty far in the college football playoff. So it's good. He's already getting pro level balls thrown to him. What more could you like? Clemson has really put out tons of polished receivers lately. So I think going back to the well at Clemson, this is something that the Raiders have pulled from a lot lately. They go to Clemson, go to Alabama. This is kind of the Mike Mayock effect, but some of the scouts in there have got to have still been looking at Clemson and to see Justyn Ross, and I think this is a real good asset to Las Vegas here.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And just to recap what we got here, you've got the Raiders in the first round. They're going corner to replace Arnett and just shore up that back end with a solid, good, consistent, steady player in Trent McDuffie. In the second round, they kind of rebuild the offensive line a little bit. They get Nicholas Petit-Frere from Ohio State. They're probably coming at right tackle, but he's versatile. He could shift to left if needed. Great athlete, great player, is going to compete right away for a starting job. And then you've got Justyn Ross in the third round, wide receiver, kind of complement Hunter Renfrow, complement Waller at tight end, give you your high point, big play down the field receiver to add another element for Derek Carr in that offense.